Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, I'm Wavy Josef.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do? Give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
All right. Well, I'm a multi-instrumentalist, producer, songwriter, pianist, African drummer, dancer, depending on how dark the club is and how well you can see. And just all of these things based out of Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah, I dig that. And what got you started into music initially?
If it weren't for music, I actually wouldn't exist, to be honest with you. I was born from two parents who are heavy hip-hop lovers and hip-hop fanatics during the best era, as my mother always reminds me. And literally, my parents fell in love in college. My dad was a rapper in a rap group back then. They did the House of Blues. The Black Eyed Peas opened up for them.
Oh, okay.
Right? There's pictures of Aloe Black sitting front stage watching them. And literally, there was a time when my mom and my dad, they met in a dorm, and my dad started the first 4 words of A Tribe Called Quest verse.
Oh, okay.
And my mother responded with the next 4 words of the Tribe Called Quest verse. And my dad just got anime hard eyes instantly. And literally, it's Love and Hip Hop, but not the reality show.
Yeah.
And so here I am, man.
Hell yeah. Well, shout out to them one time. That's
Thank you.
that's rad.
Thank y'all, mom and dad.
And then you said you play a handful of instruments. What do you play?
Yes, sir. So I started playing piano at the age of 2. Just, when my mom was pregnant, my dad would put headphones on her belly and play classical music over here, Tribe Called Quest, Bob Marley over here, right? So I just came out this ADHD, fidgety baby, ready to hit.
That actually did work.
It works.
Okay, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Listen, that's the infant regiment right there, man. And so I was always, my grandmother likes to remind me how I was always banging on the side of a wall, in the room, making drum beats, right?
Every pot and pan has a dent in it.
Every pot, forgive me. And the first time when I was 2 years old, my dad was a big Bob fan, and I had this little toy piano, and I played Bob Marley, No Woman, No Cry, on the little ding, 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 ding. And so my parents were just oh, snap, it's up now, oh, snap. So they ran me through piano lessons from age 4 to 10. And literally that's my very first instrument. And then when I was 12, I got the opportunity to utilize that little drum gene, because I went to a school out here called Da Vinci Arts Middle School, and it's there that I met my mentor and my baba. He's my third dad, right? My father, my uncle, and then my baba, and he taught first period African drumming, West African drumming. And I guess he liked what I was. I guess he liked my style or something. And he was just like, "Oh, this kid got something." And so he started this all boy band group called Baramacono. And so we were 5 boys. I was 12 and the baby of the group, right? And we did shows at like Newmark Theater, right? We did shows like out of town, Beaverton Night Market, right? And it's all of us like doing drums, like as a unit of 5. Secret Nike parties called the Sneaker Ball. Like it was so like as a middle school kid, like it's like this is the life, you know? And I'm just still the baby of the group, you know? I just happen to be the one to stay. And so now I still do West African drumming with my mentor and then his brother, who's now my other mentor, Sekou. And we've just did a convention out in Seattle where like the elders came in from Guinea and Ghana, right? And like they teach. And so they were like really impressed with what I had to offer, man. They started like kidnapping me for classes, you know. And then we have a nonprofit group out here called Sebe Khan, which we train dancers from age like 5 all the way to adulthood.
Oh, damn.
And we still do a yearly show where we bring in all of our friends from Guinea, Ghana. These are people on like the Black Panther soundtrack, right? Like Grammy nominated drummers and stuff. And these are all like our friends. And so I'm the youngest like adult, and so now I'm like kind of like the intern that gets to like sit in between all of this like greatness and be like, oh snap, this is so cool, like literally. So those are my 2 main instruments, you feel me? And then we dilly and dabble with other things.
Yeah, I was going to say, at that point, you probably have access to most things, just making music all the time.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah. Well, that's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for asking.
Now, before we get into more of what you do with music in the present day, I have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Okay,
This first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
All right, I'm going to take the glasses off for this.
Okay.
It's a triple question. Okay. And one of them is, it's because it's the fact. I'm going to be very embarrassed to say this afterwards. But the first album that was added to my personal collection, right? So it was the first album that was given to me for a gift. And then that made me start wanting to collect my own, because my family and my parents, they have like infinite records like in the garage, of course, right? It was Justin Bieber's album, Share My World 2.0 with Somebody to Love with Usher on it. That's my jam. That's Somebody to Love. Ding, 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 ding. Like, oh my God, right? And quick nerd moment. If you look, people don't often realize this. That same art that they put in Somebody to Love was also in Far East Movement Rocketeer. And I've been trying to like cross-examine and see like if it's the same producer, if they just picked from the same sound bank. But there's just a lot of like parallels, you know. And then I'm always a nerd. My people, like, I irritate everybody. Like, do you know where this is from? Like, all of that. Like, I'm my parents' child. But to go back to the other 2, the first 2 albums that I got to like start my collection, Jason Derulo, self-titled. Okay. With that What You Say. And I thank you so much, Jason, for putting me onto Imogen Heap. Oh my God. Cause that hide and seek headlock, like that was my rabbit hole into Imogen Heap. Right. And I still want those sensory gloves. Right. I still want, that's like, once I get enough money, that's probably the first thing I'm gonna send. Some people will spend it on like a car. Nope, I'm gonna get the Ariana Grande sensory gloves and just make chords with the voice. Like, that's the thing. The second one, which is very, very important, Owl City Ocean Eyes.
Okay, hell yeah.
Dude.
Hell yeah.
Dude, you know about that Owl? Oh, dude. He was, bro, this cat is this cat from Minnesota. He has insomnia from growing up next to the Coca-Cola factories. So he's like, well, I'm not going to sleep anyway. Let me just make insane, like, self-produced full music. Yeah. And just the amount of detail in the drums, like the complexity, right? Like, and his writing, his pen, so sick, bro. He said, all my life I wish I broke mirrors instead of promises, 'cause all I see is a shattered conscience staring right back at me. So little like third grade me, I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like, and that is like, there would be no Wavy without that album. Like the whole beachside like aesthetic with it. He has the album cover where he's like the Abu Dhabi building, and it perfectly rabbit holed me into one of my later favorites, which is Party Next Door. But we'll get to that a little later.
Fair. Fair. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I mean, damn. I haven't heard anybody mention Owl City in a while.
Dude.
I'm gonna have to revisit him now. That is a super solid one. Thank you for sharing that.
Sir.
And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to that was like specifically one you wanted to go to?
That I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Okay. For credit, I will say the first live show I ever went to is my dad's, right? Which is really, I just really love that. I just have this memory of being like in the midst of a mosh pit when I was like 4. And that's all I remember is just looking up, seeing like the stage and just massive people. And I ask him about that every now and then, you know, he's like, we did that all the time. But
it was just Tuesday. I don't know what you're
like,
talking about.
literally, like which one, you know? The first concert that I went to that I wanted to go to. Oh man. It's a weird, I don't really know how to answer because like I loved every concert I went to, and like music is a big part of my family. So like I remember going with my uncle to Roseland all the time. Me and my dad, we saw Flying Lotus, Janelle Monáe, Anderson .Paak right before Malibu. Lupe Fiasco at the Roseland. And I remember being at the Flying Lotus show. I was 14. And it was You're Dead, that album. And I don't know if you know about Flying Lotus, but his stage setup is insane.
Yeah.
He has like a sheet in front and a sheet behind. And so he has like this 3D projector, right? So he'll just like spread his arms out and then like become a tree. Like literally, like, it's just like so psychedelic. And I just remember like this dude walking up to me like, bro, what? How old are you? And I was like, oh, I'm 14. You're 14 and you're here? And I'm like, bro, I love Flying Lotus. He's like, bro, that's so cool, man. Hey, you want to do coke? Like, I'm good, man. Like,
No,
I'm good.
I am small.
Like, just moments like that, man. And then, like, I was like, my dad's here. He's like, oh, sorry. Like, then he like,
Does he want to?
yeah, he just sure was. He was gonna get an answer either way, man. So like, it's I really don't know the first one that like, because I wanted to go to them all.
Yeah,
I
I guess
with you.
let's modify it a little bit. What was the first one you ever went to by yourself?
Ooh. That's a good question. That one is still, because I'm always with somebody, but maybe can I? Oh, well, the first one that I went to as a young adult, that was myself and another friend who's in the hip hop scene, and we went like with the like wide-eyed young, like we're trying to like get heard by him, you know. It was Logic, YB and Cordae,
Okay.
who's now Cordae, and Jid at Moda Center.
Okay.
And they brought out Dame Dollar. Win was right there on the side of the stage. We're like screaming at her, right? Like, and that's the first show that I really like realized I went like on my own terms as a young adult and on some like, yeah, let's get heard from. So my guy, he lended me his Bobby Tarantino Letterman.
Oh yeah.
I guess he realized that I looked really good with it. And like that was the time that like as soon as the concert was over, we ran out the venue, ran all the way out the entrance, across past the Bucket Man, and went downstairs to the tour bus and was like trying to like have like our raps get heard, you know, and the security was like, Logic don't want to hear y'all shit, man. Literally, like Logic don't want to hear y'all get lost, right? But it was like, that was like the first time when I really was like just wide-eyed and like attempting.
Yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah. And it was a wild show.
Dude, it was and Jid is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's his spit ability, but then just his raw like aggression to go with it, and it translates. And so for me, I took note of somebody who raps that fast, still being able to manage a mosh pit.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is lyrical, this is layered, right? But this still has like the appeal of like if it were like an anthemic draw. You phone never had shit, never be shit, never gonna like and we're singing that, you know? So I was like, I took note of that. I was like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, he is beyond talented in so many ways.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I don't want to dig into that too much right now. I want to keep talking about you for sure. And I've got one last question to go before we move into more of what you do now. Okay. And I'm just based off everything you said, I'm very excited to ask this question. Okay. Do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Yes, but it's not as dramatic or epic as you would think.
That's okay.
It was this moment. So I had been making music my whole life, right? Music runs in my family. Whoever doesn't make music is a large appreciator of music. So on my mom's side, they owned a record store in Watts for a long time called VIP Records.
Oh yeah.
And like, so again, while when my dad was trying to court my mom, he would pull up to the record store, right, and get her like a bunch of bananas or something, like get her a mango or something. So like, I guess fruit is also a recurring theme. So for me, I never realized that this could be something translatable to like a job, right, or just a career. And so it's literally just one day as a sophomore in high school, right? I literally just had a light bulb hit me while I was at school. I was just like, it was just like this, just.
And somebody just threw a light bulb at you.
Like literally, wait, I could make money off of this? What? This could be like a career? Like what? And literally like from that point on, it was like, that's when I realized. And to be fair, after that epiphany, I'm still struggling with it. Because, you know, these are our journal entries, you know. I was just telling Baywave, like, the artist's job is not easy. We literally sacrifice our privacy on, like, the daily and give our most innermost thoughts and emotions and put it on display, you know. And so, for me, I just loved making music. I just wanted to be really, really good at making music. I wanted to impress myself, you know. And so I'm still like, it's taken me all the way to 24 right now to like still understand like how to protect myself business wise and just how to maneuver that, because those are two different sides of the brain.
Very much
the creative mind and the business mind, like literally. So like,
but at least you figured it out early.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, but I don't feel that way, you know, like
sophomore in high school is a pretty early time in life to like make a decision on something. You know what I mean? Like that is just kind of how these things happen. You know what I mean? Like, I think like I was saying off camera, like the ability to make the decision to do something, it's something you just have to do at some point in your life.
Yeah.
So for you to have found it so early, you are ahead of a lot of people already just in that respect.
Thank you.
And, you know, you've clearly been doing it. So you're making it happen. But that's actually a great segue. Let's go ahead and let's get on into more of what you do with it now. We are going to get a super easy one out of the way first, though. How'd you pick the name?
Oh, that one does have a funny story.
Is this where you tell us your name is Tom?
Joseph is my middle name, right? Daniel Josef, my first and middle. And and my nickname growing up was always DJ because those are my actual initials. My initials are DJL, which is great because then when I had my little sister, her initials are MC. Right? So hip hop coded family, man. And so when I was younger, making beats on the first beatbox that my dad got me, which was a Zoom street box. And then I started making beats off of my Nintendo DS.
Okay.
Right. I had created this little persona called DJ Max. Oh my God. If you're around me with certain parties, you might still hear people call me Max, right? Like certain people, they just know because that was like my old career, my old name, my pseudonym. And so I got myself like my little like Nintendo me character, right? You know how you can make your character? I posted that as my profile picture, right? And I was on Google Plus because my mom wouldn't let me have Facebook. So like I'm on Google Plus and YouTube, like making my best like Skrillex growls at the time, and just like dropping my little Nintendo beats. So that became a thing for a very, very long time. And then on the flip side of that, though, I've always had this production pseudonym called The Wave. And it's .wav, like the sound file. And that stemmed from the summer camp in the nonprofit organization that I'm a part of called Caldera Arts. All right, quick little breakdown of that. It's a guy named Dan Wyden. Right, he's half of Wyden & Kennedy, which is this global ad agency. They're responsible for coming up with like the Old Spice commercials, the KFC commercials, right? Like these are big deals. Dan Wyden grew up in like the countryside of Oregon, and he coined the Nike slogan. Right, I can't remember if he did. I think he did "Just Do It."
Yeah,
right. Either that or he did the swoosh. Right, but I think he coined "Just Do It," and became like a very big name in the marketing advertisement industry. So he took his newfound wealth and decided like, I want to create a space, right? And so he purchased this property in Sisters, Oregon, right next to Southern Lake. It's the Blue Lake, right, which is the lesser known popular one. And this beautiful land that was like, you know, very highly spiritual, inhabited by Native American tribes. It would be where like tribes would powwow over centuries. He took that space and he invited a bunch of kids initially from SEI in the inner city to come take buses out to this camp. They didn't have anything. They had to sleep on cots, right? Like they had like their little sleeping bags. And he just had this vision to make this beautiful environment, nature and art, like something that is affordable to who it's not often afforded to. And 30 years later, Caldera is a thriving nonprofit. They have an award from Michelle Obama, right? Like they're like this full working like thing, this hub, this community, right? That now takes kids from all different like alternative schools, both Portland and Central Oregon. So they bus in from like the reservations in Madras, and Redmond, maybe. And so they bring them to this space for this summer camp. And so they do art selectives. They sleep in teepees now. You know, we done upgraded a little bit. They can kayak and canoe on the lake. They get to learn about the nature and the land around. And it is, even with everything that I just said, I am not doing it the nearest of justice.
Damn.
It is a godsend. It is actually like one of the greatest just hubs and sources of like love and art and community that you will ever experience. And I recommend any artist to take a step and walk on that land whenever they have the time.
Oh yeah.
My father was a youth advocate for that. So basically like a counselor. So growing up, you know, my dad is a teacher. Both of my parents were teachers. So I would go hang out at Open Meadow Middle School where they taught at, and then Caldera. And so through that was like my little nepotism pipeline, to be a camper there. And so I needed a name. And so at the time, my dad, he introduced me to this software, Propellerhead, Recycle.
Yeah.
You remember Recycle?
Mm-hmm.
And so now, they have, all the DAWs have their own like sampler in it, but Recycle was like the original one where you could bring in files, slow them down, pitch them up, right, chop them, right. And my dad would do that so that he could have like different chops for his MPC. And for me, I was just in love with the visuals of it because it would create all the songs in a waveform, right? And so I would like zoom all the way in and just see like the little curvature, zoom all the way out, slow them all the way down, pitch them all the way up. And then like that was my video game. Like some people had like PlayStations and stuff. I had GarageBand and Recycle. Like that was like what I spent my time playing on. And so in order to do that, to bring files into Recycle, you had to convert them to a WAV file. And so during the sixth grade, my first time as a camper, I'm just like, I will be the wave, right? And so that still to this day, there's Wavy Josef and the wave came first. And so to me, the wave is like the source, right? It's like the force, if you will, like just midi-chlorians and stuff. Like it's like the actual like livelihood and the actual like energy, right? That flows between all human beings. Like, and that's like where all of the music like stems from. And so there's like a sonic cohesiveness with like that sound that I've made. And it's just like, it's not forced. It just like naturally, it's like what I like. And so that came first. And so I'm a producer first. So everything I do is always like still like producer minded, right? So I'm always trying to like A&R, bring people together like and collab in this way. I'm always like, this hook can feel like this. Like, so that was first. And so during that time, I was making my name. I was collaborating with a lot of artists in the town. And there was a particular artist who I won't name because I don't want to down them. But they're very crucial to this story. Who I gave a lot of like time and energy to as like a young, like, wide-eyed 16, 17-year-old producer. And, eventually that fizzled out. It fell out actually terribly. I will say that. Let me be blunt. But because of that, they started like slandering my name throughout the town. And I'm like, I'm 19, I'm 18, right, going to PCC. And so now it's like certain people won't work with me. They're here, like, it's coming back to me. Portland is small. So it's like, hey, bro, so-and-so was talking mess about you in the studio, bro. Like, don't work with Wave. He's unreliable, boom. Like, everything. And so for me, with how long that I was that person with that artist, and then that just being like the cherry on top, I needed like just a fresh start.
Yeah.
And so we ran through a couple of names, my manager Mungu and I. It was Sosef, right? That was one, Sosef. I still got Sosef demos somewhere. Like, it was that one.
Have them, right?
No, it was that one. Then just Joseph for a long time. And Joseph was actually the name that I was going to stick with. Like my middle name, people do that all the time. Rihanna, Drake, right? Like those are all like their middle names that they choose as their pseudonyms. And it was catchy. It sounded like me. So I changed my Instagram to Wavy Josef. My artist name was Joseph. And I just changed it to Wavy Josef. And so what ended up happening was I started getting booked. Everything on the flyer would just be Wavy Josef, Wavy Josef. And so now I've just been introduced as Wavy Josef and the name stuck. Yeah. Right? And so I have like this little like collection of like all the different times that people have like mispronounced or misspelled my name on a flyer with the PH or like I cannot
Autocorrect really tries to make it that way. I'm gonna tell it does you a little dirty.
I appreciate you giving them credit, man. Some of these people like I grew up with, so I'm like, you know my name. But like I appreciate that.
Well, I'm saying it did me dirty a few times when I was typing your name. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure.
Autocorrect just like I knew it was an F every time, and it still just it wanted to change it to the PH.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I gotta do some more algorithm work. But nah, man. So people introducing. We got Wavy Johnson coming up, man.
Oh no, yeah. I get that.
Wavy Jones here for you. That's one of my favorite words. If you thought that you were in for it already, you're in for a treat. We got Wavy Jones in here for you. I love that one so much. Like,
have you gotten a Wavy Johnny yet?
Wavy John, that was one, but not introduced. But
okay,
I like that. And I'm just collecting these like Pokemon right now, just like all the different names. And so, long story long, man. That's how Wavy Josef came to.
Gotcha.
Yes.
See, way back in the beginning, if you had wanted to like strong arm Joseph, you should have made an album called Just Joseph.
Ooh.
Not saying you can't still do that now.
I was gonna say no. I got to give you, and I might have to give you your royalties, my man. Absolutely.
I'll take it. I just want to thanks. That's it. You can have the money.
Special thanks to my guy, Just Joseph.
Hell yeah.
I can see the R&B cover out right now.
I'll be in the back. Just.
I like that. Yes, sir.
Hell yeah. All right, but now let's go ahead and we're going to talk about your writing process a little bit.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning.
Okay.
So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music, what are some of the things you do to get a track started?
Okay. This is also, there's multiple always for everybody, right? So for a long time, I had a very consistent process of make the beat, export the beat, immediately import the beat into a new file, right? Make the song, right? It's gotten a little bit more freaky since then, we do things in session now, but sometimes as I'm making the beat, the song will start, so then I'll know like what I want to bring out for the second verse. I like to say I don't make beats, I make instrumentals, right? So like a lot of my friends, they like to make like their beats, and it's like it's a hard beat. What they always like respected about me was that like you have your 3 minutes already here. There's an intro, there's a hook, there's a bridge, like it's already the full journey. Yeah, and because that's my favorite part. That's the Owl City influence, man. And initially, because actually I need to be better about making music all the time, because like you said earlier, where it's like, I need a muse, I need a beat, I need a producer. Like I do fall victim to that, and I'm getting more comfortable with just doing whatever. Yeah. Because what's gonna end up happening is I'm just gonna have these 50 gigabytes of voice memos, right? And so now I have to tell myself that mic, not this mic. Just go over there and just lay that little idea down for that one. But what ends up happening is most times is that you're sitting there and I'm either scrolling through a whole bunch of beats, or I'm playing like a specific beat, and like the mumbles will start happening, and it has to get to the point where it becomes so exciting that I have to run to the studio, right, and lay it down. Like it's like, oh no, oh my God, I have to see this through, and that's become like some of like a lot of people's like favorite songs, a lot of my favorite songs, In terms of the writing process, I initially started as a writer, right? Back in middle school, right? A whole lot of, poetry. My mother is a beautiful writer. And, that was my initial, I used to come and, read my poetry and do things like that. But over time, I stopped writing because it became like stressful.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't want to stress about like syllable count, you know? And so I started trusting just my initial process of whatever flows out of your mouth is the easiest and most fluid way to say that, right? And and I'm real big on like things being like conversational, easy to say. A lot of times, you know, as a writer, when you write, then you have to figure out how you're going to flow onto the track after that, right? And so for me, I'm flow first, right? So, you know, we do our mumble tracks, right? We get the melodies out. You know, people call it a top line. You feel me? I call it a mumble track. And then we go from there. But I've actually recently I've come back to the love of writing, man, because there's no wrong answer. And more importantly, like, that's a beautiful process all in its own.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there with the notes and you're just throwing words that rhyme down first, and it's like that initial little like pillars, and then you start crafting, and then what happens is, because once you open up that like connection, then like you're flowing now it's like, hold on, like right, like all of that, right? And so like then you start like perfectly just crafting this beautiful 5-paragraph research paper in MLA format, 12-point font, you know? And it's like, then you can go up to the mic and just like flow that way. That's a process all in itself that needs to be so much more cherished and respected, you know? And so, you know, when I'm listening to music, you know, I can tell like who's a writer, you know, versus like who just comes off the dome. And both are incredible.
Very much. Well, like you said, there's no wrong way to do it,
right?
But everybody has their way of doing it.
Yes, sir.
Are you a pen and paper guy, or are you doing in the phone?
I'm for ADHD purposes, yeah, I'm a notes app type of guy. When I do that, right? You know, Logic, they have their little notes on the side, so I might do that too, just to get like some bare bones. You know, you write like your punchline, just to make sure that you got your punchlines down. Then like you spit however you spit. My mother is, I guess in the new year, is constantly whipping out all of like, we're cleaning out our closets and our attic, so she's constantly showing me old little like 6th grade poems and little stories that I used to write. And I miss writing, man. And honestly, for my ADHD brain, it would behoove me to write some things down every now and then.
Yeah, I have a hard time because my handwriting is just so bad.
You know what I like? It's just like, chicken scratch, bro. Like, but
25% chance I won't be able to read what I wrote. So it's kind of a loss.
Just a doctor's note.
Yeah, it's like voice memos have really come a long way for me. Not so much voice to text, but like at least like voice memos, so I can like play it back and write it a little slower. Like there's something to be said for it. But I think handwriting does go a long way because you have to commit to certain things. If you do it in pen, you have to like scribble out and like write in different. Like I like handwriting because you don't have to write linearly. Right. You can like put things over here, you can doodle over there, you can add something on top of it, so you can try one or the other, whatever feels right in the moment. Like there's certain rules that you can't break when it's like on a physical text typed platform because it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and that's like the challenge, you know, as well. That's why that's like Nas and Biggie, just that East Coast style where it's literally just them and that piece of paper, and you can tell that the thoughts are fluid. Yeah. Right? It has a start point and it has an end point. Right? And so I'm sure there's edit and revising in between, but there's something about just even that like just that fluid like release of thought, you know? And you know, writing, just the physical act of writing is such a spiritual like commitment. Yeah, well, you know, already. Yeah, right. So like you're already like charging all of your cells towards whatever like you want to get from your brain into reality. Exactly. You know, and so I still think that it's very much important. As much as reading is important, writing is important.
Oh yeah, no, I dig that. And then I guess as far as like, because do you make all your own beats then?
About 80% of them. Okay. Absolutely. I mean, it's between me and my friends. I got a like I got a list of talented friends that all are worth sitting on this couch all in different times. You know?
Yeah.
Shout
So
out
you're
to
just
my
you're not
boys.
jumping on YouTube is what you're saying.
I'm so, because, you know, I used to engineer too. I used to engineer out of my garage, you know. Cool. You come over here with me, 35 an hour, record with me. I'm so anti YouTube beat. I'm so like, it's like, it makes my blood boil. How many goddamn free type beat files that I had to download. And it's always, but I don't ever like down any other artist for it.
Yeah.
Because not everybody has a producer, right? And that's like the best way to start and get your sound like to a point where you can actually represent what you like sonically, you know? And so from that, I always encourage my artist friends, my rapper friends, right? Singers, songwriters, like, please work with a producer, right? There's a beautiful process in that right there where you get to have like, whether it's like your in-house producer, whether you just click up with a guy and y'all vibe really hard and y'all just make one really dope, like collaborative, like album together, right? Like that's like, I feel like that's with the YouTube thing, you know, that's getting a little bit pushed to the wayside. Yeah. You know, and so, like I said, I'm a producer first. So I'm like producer rights all day, man. So absolutely. Yeah. I make 80% of my stuff. You know, now we're at a point where, you know, we're always sharing loops with one another, you know, always that right there. But yeah, if it's not me, then it's one of my homies. And I take a lot of pride in that. You know, because like what you're doing, like what we were saying earlier, like all of this is, you know, you scrapbooking, you know? So for me, I want any dope record that you hear to also have a story of it being a good time with my friend.
Yeah. No, I love that. I dig that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And actually, that segues well. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some of your music a little bit.
Okie doke.
So I jumped on ye old Spotify.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, on there, you've got music going back to at least 2021. And I'm sure there's more out there. But on Spotify right now, you go back and it goes all the way to 2021. And from the get, it's definitely a vibe.
Oh, thank you.
Super smooth. It's super swanky. It's like definitely something you could throw on in the later parts of the day. And it just, your sound is very crisp. Like it's got those auto-tuned layers, but it's very articulate. It's not hard to process like what you're saying. And it's definitely, it kind of gives, I want to say Bryson Tiller vibes.
Yeah, thank you.
But you don't sound like Bryson Tiller. Yeah. It's more that there's a presence, there's an energy in your sound, and kind of there's a commitment in it. Like you can really, it's not that I feel like you're making a sound that you think works in that space. It's that you are making your sound. Yeah. And it works so well. I mean, your beats are really on point, and it makes sense now why you're so locked in with them. Yes, and it just like, even, you know, I just appreciate the level of care is really what it is. Even like, you know, your two EPs, like So We Made an EP, which is a great name, by the way, with Goodbye, is it Caleb? Kalev.
Yeah.
All right, I knew I was going to butcher it. That was super solid. But your most recent EP, A Wavy Summer, which I think it's funny, you put it out in December.
Yes.
That's a good twist. But it's an impressive body of work. I had a hard time writing notes for it because I kept just listening to it. Like I wanted to like come in with so much more, but it starts out so strong. Waistline is such a good track, and it just from there it's a quality body of work.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, man, it's really good. I am a huge fan.
Thank you, man. Oh, was there a question in that?
That's just my breakdown. The question that I have to follow is, out of all the music you have available, what are some of your favorite tracks to perform?
Oh, okay. All right. First, what I will say is, I have heard Bryson Tiller before, and I appreciate that because exactly what you said is exactly why I love Bryson. Right? His mixing. I don't think that Bryson gets enough credit for how much he's changed the game for R&B with his actual like engineering.
Very much so.
And his vocal preset is something that I dream of one day like having, you know?
Well, we actually have.
Right, look. Is it under the seat? Say less.
No, I gotta agree. Like, I try not to like dote on any like artist except for T-Pain. Shout out. We talked about it off the
My guy.
camera. But his sound is so well put together.
Yes.
Like, it's crazy how much he puts into it and like how much you can get out of it.
Right.
But the fact that it just sits so well in the space,
Right.
it often can go overlooked, but you always know.
You know.
When you're listening to a Bryson Tiller track.
Yes.
Just like you always know when you're listening to a Wavy Josef.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. And that's like, Bryson would be like my fifth in like my Mount Rushmore, but literally T-Pain, Party Next Door, right? For production, Skrillex. Skrillex is my absolute favorite producer. And all of these people, more than anything, they are so well at creating their world and capturing their world. Having it be, when you put on those headphones, right, you're getting sent somewhere. And it's lush, right? It's very rich. It's filled, you know? And all of them have amazing vocal production. I'm so big on vocal production. Like, Skrillex was my first like example. I used to, you know, I downloaded Melodyne because of Skrillex. I got Ableton Live 8 because of Skrillex.
Shout out Ableton.
Shout out Ableton, right? I got a Novation Launchpad because of Maddion, not Skrillex, but still, like,
I got to see him live once.
you saw Maddion, bro?
So good.
Bro,
So good.
oh no.
I didn't know I was going to go see him.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to go stay with a buddy of mine in San Francisco for the evening. Just like, he was like, hey, come up to the town. Let's just hang out.
Yep.
So I get there and he's like, hey, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to hang out with you, bro.
Right.
And he was like, well, I have 2 tickets to this thing. Do you want to go with me?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, what is it? And he's
Right.
like, let's just go.
Yes.
And so I get there
Yes.
and I saw it was him and I was like, you were just not going to tell me.
Right.
He's like, oh, do you know who this is? I was
Bro,
like,
dude.
yeah.
Bro, I'm a huge Owsla like fanatic. Like, Skrillex's label. So literally like Maddion, Kill the Noise, right? 12th Planet, right? Like, that's my initial that's how you know I'm from Portland. I went to hipster art school, and them hipster kids made the mistake of playing me Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, and the whole rest of the summer was nothing but Skrillex. My parents couldn't get enough of, I'm talking about all his unreleased, all his like to now, the Sonny Moore era, the From First to Last.
Oh yeah, Ride the Wings of Pestilence. The first song I learned how to play on drums.
Thank you. Like, the first song, bro, so Da Vinci is right there off of Everett. There was an Everyday Music, the biggest one, right there on Sandy, right? Used to go there after school, go put on my headphones, and Mother Sound was like the first thing. And I'm just like, I've never heard somebody sing like that. So being bold, right? And being very like solid in your knock, in your groove, but also as well in your voice, right? And being led by like your voice is like a really big deal for me, right? And so I engineer myself. So like, those are my own vocal presets because like, you know, I want to represent it. I feel like I want to make it like understood. If I go to like somebody else, you know, they're always like dialing it back because it's like, oh, it's too much compression. It's too out in front.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, no, that's the drip. Like, that's the whole purpose, where it's like, I want my voice to be like, not even a voice anymore. I want it to be a color. You know, I want it to be an instrument. I want you to like be able to like eat off of it. I want it to be like something very like rich. And so that's like a really big deal also in like in my music. And I feel like for any artist, you know, like that's such a defining thing for like what your brand is as well. Like, your sound is everything, you know? And I feel like taking the time out to like find and perfect. I want to say protect, but I guess both. Your sound is like of utmost importance, you know? And, you know, you can release until you figure it out. But I think that it's like, that's that thing. And so for you saying that, really hit home for me, because I really appreciate that, because I spend a lot of time like wanting to make sure that that's like something that's the case. No matter what, like you just know when Wavy hops on the track.
Oh yeah. Well, it definitely shows.
Thank you. Okay, so then there was a question after that.
Back to the question. Out of all the tracks you have available that people can check out right now,
Yes, sir.
what are some of your favorite tracks to perform?
To perform. Waistline. It would be Waistline for sure. Every artist, I say this all the time, actually was just at like having Christmas dinner with my family in California, and we ended up having like a great music talk. But I was just talking about this, like every musical artist and just artists in general, they have a different like fulfillment, right? And piece of like the art that brings them like the most joy. So you can be like a studio rat, you know? So I have friends like that, like my boy Kalev, right? Dead Rose, right? Where they're just constantly in there making, like tweaking and just morphing sound, and like their joy is being in that studio space and just like tearing up a sonic, you know, and breaking it down to the last molecule, right? And they're content with that, and then they release the product. You have some people that like their greatest portion of it is the business, right? And so oftentimes that's rappers, you know, most of the time, where like the business aspect of it is like the great joy. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna treat my albums right like their product, you know, like I'm selling shirts, right? Like it's merch, you know. And so like they just have incredible genius business minds, right? And that's kind of like the whole, that's an artistry all in itself, in my opinion, you know. For me though, it's that stage. Everything I do is for that stage, you know. Like literally when I'm making the song, I'm already thinking about how is this going to look on stage, right? And all of the music that I have out actually is only even released because I had a show.
Okay.
So we made an EP where just a couple of demos that I made to submit to Party Next Door, actually, which is like, I'm so happy about that. Like, I'm like, my idol gets to hear like some work, and then even more so, like he might take it like and use it, right? Like and Party Next Door, I don't know if you're familiar, but he's like the ultimate pen, right? He's writing everybody's stuff, right? Like Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce. I have to talk about the work he did on Justine Skye's album, right? Because Waistline wouldn't even exist without those, without Good Love and what's the other one? You Got Me. I'm gonna name drop. I'm gonna be a nerd if that's okay.
Oh, good.
Okay, thank you. And so for me, I was like, that was the extra portion of it where it's like, I get to ghostwrite for the greatest ghostwriter. Like, hold on, like, ooh, like I'm like, that's another parallel right there. And so, you know, Kalev, he was like, you know, like, yo, Party opened up the email, he heard him. But to be honest with you, like, you know, if he takes it, he takes it. But honestly, like, I think you should keep these, you know? And I was like, okay. And so I had those records for about a year. I made those literally New Year's of 2023 into 24. I only remember this because my mom made me stop working to go to our family New Year's event, right? But I was like, I was flowing that whole week. And a year later, fast forward to January of 2024, I have a headlining set at The Thesis, which if anybody else is on the show and has spoken about this, if there's any monthly showcase in the Pacific Northwest that I recommend that you go to, it's The Thesis.
I mean, Verbs has been on the show.
Verbs has been on the show. Thank you. You know, I missed that episode. My fault. Dang. All right.
Hey, there's only hundreds of them. It's easy to miss one or two.
Oh man, shout out to Verbs, my boy. That's my guy.
Yeah.
And so Verbs and Mac. And so they've known me since I had to wait outside of Kelly's Olympian and watch like from the glass because I wasn't old enough to get in, right? And then they let me perform even when I still wasn't technically old enough to get in, right? But like they've known me since that, and so that's like a real family bond that I have with them. And so they finally were like, you know what? It's the new year. We're having our last show at Kelly's Olympian before we migrate, and we want you to headline.
Hell yeah.
Right. And I was like, yes. And so I pulled out all the stops for that show. I called all of my friends. I got a full band. I got my two homeboys, RJB and Maurice, to sing backup with me. And we're doing like our little like Temptations two-step together. Right. I had my beautiful auntie Vina Baby doing like the BTS and the marketing. Gemini, he did the film.
Gemini.
Yes, sir. Gemini did the actual like the recap that's on my social media. Like Gemini did that. And I just wanted it to be a great time between all of my friends. That's what I wanted it to be. And of course, I was about to pull my dreads out like the day before because like just getting all of these people in one room is like, oh my God.
Oh, believe me, I understand.
You know, like, bruh, getting artists to show up, Jesus Christ. So, but it ended up being like a very beautiful show. And the week before the show, which is right before New Year's, I got a call from two of my friends, my boy Sincere and my boy Jarrell. And they jumped me on a group FaceTime. And I was like, what's going on, fellas? Right? And they were like, you not dropping a project before your headlining thesis is blasphemous. And you need to do that. And so, you know, me not releasing music has been a recurring theme, obviously, with how long I've been making music. And again, like just having that transference from like, this is mine and these are my journal entries to now like, I'm a professional, you know? That's been a recurring thing for years and years and years and years and years and years. And so finally, I guess I was just in such a much better headspace about it. That instead of initially I would be like, you know, being defensive, right? Or like trying to make up excuses, right? I finally had a conclusion that was to my liking, which was, okay, which one do you want? Like, what songs do you like? Because everybody around me, they know all my songs, right? Already, right? Which is why they all want to beat me up for not having them out. So I was just like, okay, well then let me know. Cause it's hard for me to pick, you know? I just have, all of these are great to me. All of these are like my babies to me, right? So they said, we like Caught a Vibe, right? And I said, bet. That's either, like, you know what? I'm really done with that song. There's nothing else more that I really want to do to it. It feels finished to me. I've been bumping it for a year, right? So I'm like, okay, bet. We go, so I book a session with Kalev. We go and we're mastering Caught a Vibe. Fun fact, Aspen actually pulled up to the studio that day, right? So Aspen is there. We're all in there vibing. Shout out to Aspen. You know, that's my gang. You already know. And
another really fun guest.
Just the funnest person. You know, like, listen, if you're somewhere and Aspen is there, you're in the right place. Yeah. You know? And so we're in there just vibing. We go to the lounge room, like, and we're just talking and just talking with Aspen. Then I was like, you know what? Let's just do all three. Right. And so I told Avi, I was like, yeah, bro, let's just drop all three of them. He's like, for real? I was like, yeah, why not? And so we made an EP. And so that's how that happened, because we did it so impulsively that we didn't have a name, right? So that's how that EP was made. And so when I got to the thesis show, right, it was such a surreal feeling, because this is the first time that I'm performing a record for the first time and everybody's already singing it. Because it's available to me. And that's when I was just like, oh, that's why you do that. Okay, I get it. Right? So, like, that EP, but none of that would have happened if I didn't have that thesis show, right? And so transferring to Waistline, right? Waistline was completely created from scratch because I had a Kelly's Olympian show, right? I had a show with the Honorable Kayla J. You feel me? I hope that you get to have her on it here as well. She's a Northside legend, okay? And I just, we're artists. We constantly, we want something new, and I was like, I had a couple of records that already were like anthemic. I had a couple of records that I know the crowd loves to hear, right? Like I have my ones, but I didn't have one that was like, kind of like that same energy, but like cheeky, kind of like, flirtatious, and so Kalev, he had that chord loop. I built the drums just around that bass line, made the instrumental, and I still have the voice memo. I just kept like that was just all I had. And that was when I said earlier about it has to make me so excited that I run to the booth. That is the record that I was referring to.
Hell yeah.
Like I was like, no, let me. You know what? I don't got nothing else to do today. Let me go ahead and knock this back. And the best songs are a blur when you make them.
Yeah,
that's the best. The best ones where it's like I started here and I ended here and I really don't remember everything in between, And
each idea keeps feeding the next idea.
The next one, and it's like it's that you're in that limbo, where it's like between here and the astral realm almost like, and so that was like one of those records.
I think the kids call it the flow state.
The flow state. Thank you. Let me act my age. I'm sorry. But yeah, and so. Waistline, ever since I debuted it, first of all, it debuted exactly like the image that I was thinking when I made that record was manifested, with that, like everybody was wilding out, it's girls like on the walls and stuff, right? It was like, wow, like, and so to this day, out of the records that I have released, that there's a certain energy in that record where it's so fun. It's just so fun, and like everybody is yeah, like everybody says it, and it just like it feels so good. And I also love it because like, pardon me. I also love it because the beat is technically like halftime, like it's technically really slow. But it doesn't groove that way. It grooves like it's like a double time.
Well, you definitely don't groove it that way in that either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you came in hot. Like, the track starts off super lax. You're just like kind of like, all right, I see what's going on. And then you just were like, I'm here.
Yeah, man. That's the one. So,
yeah.
Long story short, yeah, I love that song.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's definitely a quality jam. All right. Now, we are technically only at the halfway point and we're running long. So I'm going to hit you with the big question and then we're going to speed through the next portion a little bit.
Yes, sir.
But this next question is probably the most important question in the interview. It's definitely the densest question in the interview.
Sit up for this.
But we've talked about, your experience with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music, one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Music gives me actual life. It gives me existence. It gives me purpose. I really don't know where I would be without music. I firmly believe that I would not even like be here physically without music, right?
Hard for me if reached out to you. If
you
probably wouldn't have been here.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I would not be here on Jimmy's Jambox if not for music, man. And so like it's in everything that I do. It's in everything that I breathe. right? I constantly got detention because I couldn't stop making beats on the table, right? Or singing, right? Like, it's like, I'm just, like, I feel like it's so much like a part of me and just like interwoven in my blood cells and just in my being, right? So, not to sound super like dramatic, but honestly, like, music gives me me,
Mm-hmm.
To be honest.
No, man, I dig that. I could definitely feel that. And I mean, just based upon the delivery in your music, it's very obvious that you have much of you in your music, but I think that's because there is so much of your music in you. And I mean, just hearing the background story, I mean, literally you were listening to music in the womb. You know what I mean? Your parents met and became, the duo that they are because of the music that was around them. I mean, you almost didn't have a choice. But it was given to you with such love. It was given to you with such care, and it was nurtured in such a way that it's not that you didn't have a choice. It's that you were given the best possible opportunities to exist within music, because there is something really important for people in general in the world of music, that depending on how it's provided to you early on in life, you're either going to receive it and grow with it a certain way, you're going to deflect it a certain way, you're going to like coexist with it nonchalantly in a certain way. So for your parents to have like provided you the love that music can really give, and then to allow you to kind of foster it in your own ways. And I mean, for even you to have realized it so early on that you were like, this is the thing I want to do. I mean, it makes sense that this is the only thing that you could like truly do. Man, because
you should see how I tie my shoes. I'm trying to tell you. I'm so
that's amazing. But no, man, just to circle back to it, like, that makes perfect sense that it would be your lifeblood, that it would be your water, because you were just so in it in so many ways, and you're so fortunate to do so. But it is also so enjoyable to know that layer, because not everybody gets that. Yeah. So it's you are blessed to have had that, and it's cool to see that you have taken that and let it grow. All right, but with that being said, now we're going to move on to the next portion. We're going to kind of zoom through these ones, but this next portion is all hypothetical questions.
Okay.
So the questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one is pretty straightforward.
All right.
If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Skrillex.
Hell yeah. Well, Sonny, if you're watching,
please. Also, when I was 12 and so into EDM,
mm-hmm.
right? My now auntie, she used to like bring me into like this thing called FNL, which is that the Boys and Girls Club. It was basically like a rave for middle schoolers, right? And so I was the intern, I would like do like the population count with the little stopwatch. She would let me spin. I learned a vital lesson that day, because I spun back-to-back Skrillex. And it's cute when it's one dubstep drop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned that very, very quickly. Like, I did like Scary Monster and Night Sprites into Bangarang, and I thought it was genius because they're the same key musically. Mm-hmm. Right? But then by the time it got to Bangarang, it was just like, so I had to change it to my little Usher song. and just dip out. All right, appreciate you. So at that time though, she got me an autographed Skrillex CD.
Oh, hell yeah.
Of Bangarang, and it says, DJ Max, follow your dreams. Right? And in terms of people that like, they get it.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell that they're also like so within their purpose, right? And so much a student of every single type of art form,
mm-hmm.
and able to bring it forth at the highest level, right? Like, he's my guy for that. And so for me, even just before like it's like a record, I feel like we could just nerd out for a long time. We would just have like a crazy conversation, you know. But I would love to songwrite with him, for him. He has like his list of like songwriters who are all dope. Anastasia, Beam, right? And I would love to be one of those people, you know?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
That's a hard one. I don't shook hands with everybody in this town. Okay. Without like, okay, I want to substitute me like going through the full thing and just start saying names. Okay. I recently discovered Bryson the Alien. Holy crap. I literally was listening to his album all this morning, produced by my boy Blue. Heck yeah. Tyus, we've connected, but we have like unfinished business on that departure. He asked me when I was 18 to executive produce his entire album, right? And we just never finished that whole bond. So as somebody else who's very R&B and Party Next Door based, right? I know that we have some very smooth and sultry adult grown and sexy records to make, you know, between him and I. Those are the first. Last one, I promise.
Yeah, you're fine. Go for it.
This is actually the ultimate one over everybody else, and I'm like, thank you, Brain Cell, for coming back to me.
Jimmy, we're gonna cut that and post that. I'm kidding. Everybody else that you just mentioned, not gonna make.
Not gonna make. Bro.
I'm kidding.
Oh man, this is number one, actually, man. Oh snap. Side note: Skrillex is interchangeable with T-Pain as well. But the last Artful Dodger.
Hell yeah,
dude. I've known Dodger just throughout the scene. She's always popped out like in like. We've always met in like the dopest of places. So that secret Nike party that we did African drumming at, that was like one of the last times that I saw Dodger while they were in town. We actually did a show together. I did keys for Carmen Rivera at Doug Fur. Talk about a venue.
Oh, the original Doug Fur.
Oh my God, so beautiful.
I'm sad I'll never get to do a showcase in that particular venue. That was
man, and I just pray that their next location is like even just a hint of that.
I'm sure it's gonna be. I'm sure it's
gonna be great.
Good. I really trust them on it, but that venue is special.
God, that downstairs all wood and the quality.
Yeah.
Okay. Circling back, Dodger headlined that show. And Dodger has just always been very like sweet to me, right? Dodger's already an incredible human being, but she's always just been like very, very sweet whenever I see her, right? And the more that I like got into, you know, her music, right? Especially now that she's over there with like Mark Ronson and Interscope, right? Like I've realized just how much like cut from a similar cloth we are, and so. Before anybody else, like I got beats, I got songwriting, like I got infinite creativity for that person right there. Dodger is actually the number one on my list, and the day that we are in a booth and just doing our thing together will be a very momentous and happy one for me.
Hell yeah. Yes. Well, everybody, you know what to do. At all of them in the comments. Let's see if we can get that to happen.
One. Don't miss a single one. Don't miss one. Thank you.
And then for this next question, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense.
Yes, sir.
But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it's guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. It doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
Oh, man. What I see in my mind, they haven't built the venue yet. But for the sake of what is here on Earth currently, places like Red Rocks, places that are within nature, right? So like, you know, I've always wanted to perform like atop a waterfall, you know, like on an island, you know. I'm always thinking like, where can I put, my initial thought is how can I build a roller coaster on top of that? And then my second now is how can I build a stage on top?
How Cusco of you.
Right? I'm a huge roller coaster fanatic, man. I can't help it, man. And we don't have enough time for me to tell you how much I can tie in the amusement park industry with the music industry and how I see it. I see my songs as like amusement rides.
I mean, isn't that basically what EDC is? There it is.
Thank
but
you.
Yes, we won't tangent too far.
You feel me? But yeah, and so initial goals right now is Soul Bloom in Sacramento.
Hell yeah.
Dude, I went there 2 years ago. Janae Aiko, Summer Walker, Jasmine Sullivan, and Georgia Smith were the headliners. Thundercat, Smino, D-Smoke, Sir, Bino, Blast, Lucky Day, Division, like Majid Jordan, like within 2 days. And it's the first festival that I've ever been to. I've never been to a festival before, so I lost my virginity like at Soul Bloom, right? And so just seeing how the festival works, the 2 stages, like you migrate from one side to the other to see each act. And on the other side of the stage, they have their like up next, Smino, right? Like up next, Joyce Rice, right? Side note, the best performance there were 2 people. And they were midday. They weren't even main, like they were midday. Joyce Rice and Victoria Monet.
Hell yeah.
That was the infamous viral TikTok dance that happened. Like that, it was there. I was there. And Victoria, she just had this glow about her. Like it was literally like, 1, it was her birthday. I had no idea she was a Taurus. Shout out to the Bulls. And then 2, like she's from Sacramento. So she just had that glow. Like it's her day. Everybody was wearing gold. She had trumpet players like 2-stepping, right? And it just like made me melt, right? But back to the up next thing, as we're like going back to back stages, I saw up next Vina Baby, up next Ray Nazra, up next Wavy Josef. Like I saw it like as clear as day. Like I saw our names. And so I'm so glad I went to that festival. Thank you, Parker. Thank you, Vina. Because it then had me realize just how close, like how attainable, like it really is. Like, oh, we're not that far at all. You know, we're just like, we're just a couple of like months and stuff of like work ethic, right, and consistency and professionalism away from being on this stage, right? And so for me, my immediate goal is for the next Soul Bloom, I would love to have my little tiny name right there at the very bottom.
Hell yeah. I dig that.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then to wrap up the hypothetical questions.
Yes, sir.
If you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who'd you want an album from?
Michael Jackson.
Hell yeah.
Michael. Everything that we do today is a derivative of what he defined was pop music. You know, like we're now we're now seeing all of these different interviews where Pharrell is saying all of these songs that I made for that now became Justin Timberlake's album. They were initially like I was trying to get them to Michael. All of these, like everything was that. And there's certain artists who are just like, they're that hub for optimal production, musicality, right, art. And there's nobody like in that position the way that Michael was in that position.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he would have so much great commentary for like where we're at in the world today. I feel like he would run the TikTok era.
Oh,
he would run it for filth, you know, like, and so like just seeing that, I think that, yeah, that's the first name.
hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. All right. Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Yes, sir.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and June? What's the first half of the year look like for you?
Now in June is, it's a lot of traveling, music release, and music creation. You know I'm gonna get better about my like my social media presence and doing the TikToks and everything. But for me, I'm actually planning on leaving Portland pretty soon. And so I have a checklist of like, who do I want to work with? Who have I always wanted to do something with here? And I plan to just knock out as much as that checklist as possible. So collaborative EPs, just features here and there, right? Producing for a lot of people and just leaving. I want to leave something for this city that raised me, that I'm so proud of. Like while my dad was at Open Meadow, I used to give Mike Capes my little garage band beat CDs, and I wouldn't be here without Tony Ozier, right? Without the U Crew, without Hakeem, right? Like without Dodger, without Tyus, without OG1. My first pair of production headphones were at that same Boys and Girls Club thing, FNL. OG1 came in and was selling, advertising Soul Republics. And so that made me get a pair of Soul Republics, plug it into my Nintendo 3DS, and play Skrillex.
Well, I'm going to add one more thing to your list. You got to put out an album and come and do a Tuned In episode before you go.
Ooh, you have my word.
All right. Off-camera handshake.
Contact was made, y'all. Contact was made.
Yes. Hell yeah. And then I guess for this next one, go and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Okay. This is the fun. You can find me any and everywhere if you Google Wavy Josef, WavyJosef. I'm on all platforms. I am currently making a YouTube page so that y'all can just find and see everything that I got going on. Right now, Instagram is the best way to keep up with me. All at Wavy Josef, WavyJosef, never PH. And that's everything, man. And I hope y'all enjoy what comes next.
Oh yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Yes, I do. Shout out to my big sister, Bay Wave, who has been right here, sitting so sweetly right here, just kicking it, having a great time with us. Bay Wave is visiting from California, but she will be making a bigger presence in Oregon. Please listen to Bay Wave, listen to Cadron, listen to Goodbye Kalev, listen to Torrance, aka Hogarth Hughes, listen to Parker Howell, listen to Dead Rose, listen to Twan, right?
Twan.
Listen to everybody that comes on this show. Listen to Jimmy's Jam Box. Period. You're going to find everybody there. All right. Halfway, because I got ADHD. Shout out to all my people in Seattle. You're going to listen to Talea. Listen to Don Gray. Right? Listen to my people in Cali. Listen. Before anything else. Listen, I love all of y'all equally. I love all my children equally. But listen to me. Before anything else, if you don't leave here from Wavy Josef and not listen to these people, I'm going to tell you right now, you listen to the Fourth Eye Tribe. The Fourth Eye Tribe. You go and look these people up. All right. Multimedia group. It's a league of assassins, a guild of assassins. Right. Before I was Wavy Josef, I was a part of the Fourth Eye Tribe as DJ Max, and I still am. You listen to the Fourth Eye Tribe, the Adonai. Prolific. Give him his flowers. Get on his head. Tell him to drop his album. K Wicks, right? You listen to K Wicks. Nick Bison, right? Every single person that I just said, if you like me, you're going to love them. Okay? Fourth Eye Tribe. All right, that's everything, man.
Hell yeah. That was proper shout out segment. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, with that being said, I've got one last question to go.
Yes.
But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. and this is entirely up to your interpretation, but in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a bit of a deep cut. It's one you think not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
Gotcha. Easy.
My Brother's Apothecary Tea.
Shout out to Chain Taylor, my boy. Shout out to Chain. I have two for you. The very first one is Prolific's We Were So Serious. Right? Came out during around the time of COVID. So dense and so diverse. He's like I said, like we talked about Jid earlier, he has this thing where he can really, really rap, but he still has this deep voice, like presence of like a pastor, right? And he has that thing where just like, yeah, bro, you got a divine connection, bro, with everything that comes on wax, you know? My second one, which I'm very, very so glad to shout out, Brother's Apothecary. Amir Obey's D Trooklyn. This mixtape, the same way how Acid Rap is a mixtape, right? Saved like my life. Like it changed my whole approach. This is a mixtape that came out in 2014, yet somehow is still ahead of its time in 2025, right? And the best part about it is that it literally was made in these project apartments with one rapper and one producer. And when you listen to it, I want you to just keep that in mind. Just one rapper and one producer made this in Logic in 2014. And I want y'all to really just keep that in mind when y'all listen. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for those recs. This is super solid.
Yeah, but I'm going to ask you about how they hitting later on, man.
Do, yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jimmy.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Wavy.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.